Well, it's official. The media have now branded President Trump a flip-flopper. But there's a fascinating divide in the press of whether that is a no good, terrible, very bad thing or kind of good. Now, the president has given his critics some ammunition in this regard. I saw this coming with the Syrian airstrikes. I think there was a delayed effect due to the kind of shock and awe in the media over the Tomahawk strike against Syria. But, you know, president who had basically campaigned on America first, don't get entangled in Middle East conflicts, was so moved by the chemical attack that he did order the strike, and that caused a lot of reassessment about what his foreign policy approach is. But then in rapid succession, you had him changing or at least moving away from some of the campaign rhetoric on things ranging from whether China is a currency manipulator. No, he says now. Whether NATO is obsolete. No, the president says now. The Export-Import Bank, president didn't think much of it. Now he thinks it serves a valuable purpose. So those who want to beat up on this president say, you know, he made all these crazy promises during the campaign. Now he's finally discovering what government is like, and he's got to walk away from that. And what does he really believe? And he doesn't have any core principles and all of that. But there's a stronger strain, I believe, in the media, journalists, commentators, bloviators, who say this is a good thing because Donald Trump is now becoming more realistic. And by the way, let me just insert here. Every president finds a collision between campaign promises and the realities of government. Remember when Barack Obama promised to close Gitmo, among other promises? There are times when you have different information, your perspective is different, you're not just giving a speech on the trail, and so there are adjustments to actually becoming president, especially if you haven't worked in government before. But the more that the President Trump is perceived as moving in a more moderate direction, the more the mainstream media are going to welcome that. You see this also in the articles about how Steve Bannon is losing clout because he is a hardcore conservative nationalist. And the Washington Post had this very laudatory piece about Gary Cohn, head of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, former Goldman Sachs president, saying that he is more ascendant and using words like bipartisan, less confrontational, centrist, more moderate. Those are words that reflect media values, what the press really wants to see. So this is the classic conundrum. When somebody in high office flips or changes position in a direction that the press deems more extreme, they say that person has no principles, they're selling out, they're pandering. When somebody in high office evolves toward a position that the press favors, they are growing in office. They are learning, they're evolving, the much more positive take. Now, in the end, it will depend on what kind of achievements this president is able to pile up. But the flip-flop argument is a little more complicated than it seems at first blush. And because the president is seen as now becoming more realistic in office and listening to the more moderate voices, then he actually is getting some pretty good press, even though he seems to be changing his position on a whole bunch of issues.